Okay. Okay, now we should be live. Yes, we are live. So, what's up, everybody? I'm Bucky Badger. Okay, now are we live? Yes, now we're live. Hey, what's up, everybody? I am Bucky Badger W, and today I'm going to be revealing my top 100 NFL players ranks ranks 100 through 51 on the live stream here. So let me get this tweet up. Okay. On the live stream, I'm going to be doing this. I have these players. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, ranking players, doing research, doing stuff like that. So if you consider sharing, potentially liking the stream, doing all of that, that'd be greatly appreciated. Even if you're going back and watching this on a rewatch, if you didn't catch the stream. But so yeah. Anyway, I have here players. I have 25 different slides here. I have two players a slide, and yeah, we're just gonna run through. I'm gonna try to get the stream. My streams usually tend to be like an hour and a half to 2 hours for stuff that should take much less time than this. We're gonna try to make it take a little bit less time, hopefully. So we're gonna try to keep it about an hour to an hour and a half. But if we're gonna do that, let's just jump right in here. Where we have the starting screen of the NFL top 100 players. Let's just jump in here. I have some honorable mentions, I guess, that I'd like to start with. Let me pull up my page here. So, yeah, so my honorable mentions here that I got Tyron Smith, offensive tackle from the Cowboys, Brandon Graham, edge from the Eagles, Chris Carson, running back from the Seahawks, Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle from the Bucks, Brandon Scherf, offensive guard from the football team, Dwayne Brown, offensive tackle from the Seahawks, Joel Bitonio, offensive guard from the Browns, Baker Mayfield, quarterback from the Browns, J.J. Watt, edge from the Cardinals, Joe Thuney, guard from the Chiefs, and some other notable guys: Derek Carr, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt, Calais Campbell, Mark Andrews, Justin Herbert, Chris Godwin, Kyler Murray, Mike Gesicki, some other guys down there, Jonathan Taylor. But anyway, let's just jump into it here. With players 199, starting off with my 100th ranked player for the 2021 NFL football season, which is Adam Thielen, wide receiver from the Minnesota Vikings. So Thielen, I think he had not one of his best years last year, but he had, I have his page right here on Pro Football Reference, which is a great page, by the way. But yeah, he had 14 touchdowns last year, which was one of the tops in all the NFL. I think some of that was just touchdown luck. But Thielen, even though he isn't the best at anything in the NFL, I think he's a very good route runner. He's fine as an athlete. He has great hands. He's a very smart receiver, and he's a good red zone threat. So I think Thielen all around is a great receiver. He pairs with Justin Jefferson, who we'll see be high on this list. Side note, the Minnesota Vikings, of all the teams here, they actually have the most top 100 players with 7. I think we're going to get to a lot of those guys today since they have a lot on the back end. But nevertheless, they have a lot of guys. Keenan Allen comes in at number 99, wide receiver from the Chargers. I'm a lot lower on Allen than other people, but even I have to admire Allen's ability to play in the slot outside. He's very versatile. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL, if not the best. I mean, is amazing. He's just able to, against any corner, he can shake them and get open routinely. So I don't think he's not a deep threat. He's really just more of an underneath guy, and I don't think that he adds the value that some of the receivers higher up on this list do. But as a route runner and a short yardage guy, I think Keenan Allen is, as a slot receiver, he's arguably the best in the NFL to play that role. So Keenan Allen drops in here at number 99. You can argue that he should be higher. I wouldn't fault you for arguing that because, as I've said, he's a great route runner. He's a great receiver, but he comes in here at number 99. Okay, now number 98 and 97, we move on. At number 98, I have Vita Vea, defensive tackle from the Buccaneers. It may shock some people that I got him a little bit higher than Keenan Allen, but I think Vea, he didn't play a ton last year, if I recall correctly. I believe he only played 5 games in the regular season. but he's a menace inside. I mean, he takes up double teams all the time. He's, he's one of the best players on that Bucks defense, which is so good. He takes up doubles inside. He's able to defend against the run. He's such a big body, and he isn't very refined. I don't think he's ever going to be much better than like a top 80 player in the NFL. But that said, I mean, there's a role for guys like him in the NFL, and I think he executes it perfectly with his ability to take up blocks, sometimes get into the backfield when he's just one-on-one, and really just make things easier on the rest of his defense. And that makes him a top 100 player in my opinion. Number 97, we got Shaq Mason, offensive guard from the Patriots. He's a mauler in the run game. He's a solid pass protector too, but really he's in there for the Patriots to absolutely destroy people in the run game. And I mean, he does a great job of that, and that's part of the reason that the Patriots had such a great run attack last year, because he's up there absolutely destroying people in the run game. So, yeah, we got Vita Vea, Shaq Mason, two guys on the line on both sides that are going to be in there at 98 and 97. Let's go to now 96 and 95. We got Justin Jefferson in here at 96, another Vikings receiver, as I referenced earlier. Jefferson, in his first year, he really did it all. I mean, what didn't he do last year? He's a great receiver after the catch. He's able to, make a reception and make guys miss. He's an outstanding route runner, and he's very, fast and twitchy, which it makes him able to create outstanding separation. I believe he almost had what was it? I may be completely off here, but I think he had he had 1,000+ receiving yards last year, definitely, and he didn't really even play the first two games. So I mean, as a rookie, he terrified NFL corners. And by the way, this is a ranking of last year, so I mean, this isn't like taking into account what he may become this year. I mean, it kind of is, but not a ton. He's a good deep threat. He has great hands. Like Thielen, he's smart. I think he's like Thielen, but a bit more athletic, a lot better as a route runner. And I think he's so good. I mean, he's going to end up being, if he's already this good, he should end up by the end of his career being like a top 10 player. Or in his prime, he should be a top 10 player in the NFL. So I think Justin Jefferson is amazing. He's a 96. Garrett Bowles underwent a big uptick in performance last year. He's a number 9 offensive tackle from the Broncos. I mean, he was just average before last year, but last year he was great. I mean, he was great pass protecting, great run blocker. There really isn't enough that you can say about Garrett Bowles' transformation last year, and that's what makes him the 95th best player in the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, Garrett Bowles was great last year. Okay, on to number 94 and 93. Number 94, we have another receiver, Terry McLaurin of the Washington football team. McLaurin, he's really a do-it-all, and I don't just want to say that to sound like I've never watched Terry McLaurin before, because I have, but he's kind of similar to Justin Jefferson. I think he's a great route runner. He's great after the catch. He's not like a big body receiver, but he's very good. I think, he's kind of like a Justin Jeff. I'm thinking of a word to describe those two. And I mean, great route runner is definitely one of them, but he has great hands. I mean, he's just an all-around package. There isn't really, as a corner in the NFL, there isn't really a ton that you can do to stop him, because anything that you throw at him, if you want to stop him from running short, he can go deep. You want to stop him from getting over the top, he can definitely go short. He can catch and run after the catch. He can catch contested passes. Anything that you want, as an offense, anything that you want him to do, he can do. And as a defense, you can't really protect against one thing because he can do everything. So Terry McLaurin comes in at number 94. He'll definitely be higher, I think, on this list by the end of next year. He's a borderline top 10 receiver right now. There's a lot of receivers. I think probably the strongest position on these rankings, the most represented positions, are definitely wide receiver and edge. Those are the two strongest positions in the NFL. But McLaurin 94, Marcus Peters comes in at 93 for the Ravens. I don't love his gambling tendencies as a corner because he jumps too many routes. I think at times he can hurt his team, but that's the style that he plays, and I can't fault him because very often he comes up with pass breakups, interceptions. His instincts are usually right when he wants to jump a route or do something of that nature. he's usually right, and that's what makes him so good. He's a very aggressive corner, but he's a very successful corner, so you can't really fault him on that. Him and Marlon Humphrey are both top 100 players. Okay, on to the next two. Number 92, we got Marshawn Lattimore, corner from the New Orleans Saints, another Ohio State player after Terry McLaurin. But Lattimore is kind of the same as Peters, but he's bigger. I think he's one of the corners that's best suited in the NFL to take on a guy like Mike Evans or like a bigger receiver because he can press, he can bully smaller receivers at the line of scrimmage, and bigger receivers he can take on. He's also very aggressive and tends to, like Peters, at times he can give up the deep ball too much, which he has some really bad games, but he also has some really good games. Specifically against Mike Evans, he's had some really good games in the past. He's a great tackler. I mean, he's just a very aggressive corner. There are some schemes that he wouldn't be great in, like a zone scheme where like he has to drop all the time. But like a press man scheme, he's great in that. And that's what makes him a near top 90 player in the NFL. At number 91, we got Matt Ryan, quarterback from the Falcons, who I know Deshaun Watson passed for the most yards in the NFL last year, but I know Matt Ryan was really close to him. Was he stat padding at times last year? Kind of. Did he have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst? Yes, he did. Were his teams down all the time because of his terrible defense? Yes. But Matt Ryan, he still has a bunch of arm talent. Still very accurate with the football. I mean, he's not like Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, like, he can just make ridiculous throws that you've never seen before. But, I mean, he can make all the throws that you routinely ask a quarterback to make. He's also really smart. I mean, he doesn't normally put his team in a lot of trouble with throwing interceptions, and he produces a lot. So I think you have to give it to Matt Ryan on that regard, and that's what makes him the 91st best player in the NFL. Here we got a recap for position or spots of spots 100 through 91. Once again, Adam Thielen at 100, Keenan Allen 99, Vita Vea 98, Shaq Mason 97, Justin Jefferson 95, Garrett Bowles 90, Justin Jefferson 96, Garrett Bowles 95, Terry McLaurin 94, Marcus Peters 93, Marshawn Lattimore 92, and Matt Ryan 91. So those are the top 100 through 90 players in the NFL. If you disagree, potentially leave a comment. I'll see what I think about it. But let's move on here. Players 90 through 89. At 90, we got anti-vax Kirk Cousins. Not a big fan of the anti-vax there. Get vaccinated, but Kirk Cousins, he was good on the football field last year. You can't really deny that. And even though I live in Minnesota, Vikings fans, they always like to blame Kirk for their troubles. It's not always his fault. I mean, last year, the defense was terrible. I mean, he was kind of in a similar situation to Matt Ryan. The defense was terrible. He got helped out by a really good running game, which Ryan didn't. And then he had Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, which is very hard to not be productive like that. But Kirk Cousins still, he was very accurate. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, just like routine, like deep passes, passes where it's not like a Mahomes pass where he needs to do the impossible. He's very good on those. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL on those. I mean, he's top 5 potentially in accuracy. And he makes some boneheaded decisions at times, especially under pressure, but that doesn't stop him from being a top 90 player in the NFL. Shaq Barrett coming in here at 89 from the Buccaneers. You could have said at this time last year that his last season potentially could have been a fluke, because I think he put up like 18 sacks or something, which was like he had like 5 the season before or something. So he broke out in a ridiculous way, and I think I had him top 100 last year. I think I had him like at number 100, but this year he did it again, and it's mostly because of his speed, his bend off the edge, and I mean, he's relentless, and he's too speedy for most offensive tackles to handle, even if they, right from the start of the snap, they try to drop super deep to prevent Shaq Barrett from getting deep. He's still going to get in there, and like the Buccaneers, they run a blitzing defense, but usually they don't have to do that because Shaq Barrett is going to get home at some point. He's not a great run defender, but you can't really ignore the fact that he's such a good pass rusher just because of his speed, and that makes him top 89 player, top 90 player, we'll say. Another guy that relies a lot off his speed. He's definitely past his prime, but at number 88, I have Von Miller. Not a lot of people are putting Von in their top 100s, but I still think he's there. I mean, still just his speed, bend off the edge is ridiculous, and he doesn't like have the finesse that he once had, or just he also doesn't have the speed that he once has to get to the quarterback or the strength, but he's still a ridiculous pass rusher, and he's a very good run defender. That's what makes him 88 on this list. I mean, prime Von Miller, prime J.J. Watt would have been a lot higher on this list, but they're where they are right now. They're still great players. At number 87, we got Denzel Ward, corner from Cleveland, another Ohio State corner after Marshawn Lattimore. Denzel Ward, also kind of a bigger guy that can definitely jostle with bigger receivers, and he gets his hands on the ball a lot of the time. I think that he has great ball skills for a corner. He's basically like a receiver when the ball's in the air. You know, quarterbacks don't want to throw it to him. They don't want to throw it at his side because he's going to be able to either make the pass breakup or he's going to intercept the pass. And that's very valuable for Denzel Ward there on one side of the Cleveland Browns secondary. Cleveland's going to be a breakout, or not a breakout team because everyone thinks they're going to be good. Cleveland's going to be like a top 10 team this year, and they maybe wouldn't be if Denzel Ward wasn't manning one side of the secondary, because at times quarterbacks just look away from him because that's a smart thing to do. Okay, number 86 and 85 here. 86, we got Cam Hayward, another Ohio State guy, defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. And I think Hayward's a bit overrated. Oh, sorry, I showed the other ones a bit. But Hayward's a bit overrated in my opinion. But still, like a lot of what he does doesn't show up on the stat sheet, which I know is a cliche, and I don't like to use those a ton. But I think he makes plays for others, just like Vita Vea kind of does. He is a menace, like getting into the backfield. He's able to do that at a very high clip, and he is a monster in that Pittsburgh defense. One of the reasons they're such a good defense, which is why he's number 86 here. Number 85, we got Matt Stafford, quarterback from the Rams now, formerly of the Lions. At this point, we know what Stafford is. A lot of people are overrating him just because he's been traded to the Rams now, and it's kind of, winning bias has kind of gone the opposite way, in a way, because people are saying, like, oh, quarterback wins aren't a stat, and because, like, the Lions sucked, that's not Stafford's fault. Well, I mean, you're kind of half right there, but Stafford also, he wasn't, I don't think Stafford, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Seahawks fan, but I don't think Stafford is who people think he is. I mean, he's ridiculously talented with his arm, but I don't think he's not even close to being like a top 5 quarterback status. He's top 10, but he's on like the tier, as you can see here, of like Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan. That said, he's still like number 85 because he can still make otherworldly throws at times. Okay, you already saw this because I accidentally showed it, but number 84 and number 83, we've got Ryan Tannehill at number 84, who is better than Stafford in my opinion. I mean, Tannehill, he got a complete career resurgence after being dealt from Miami to Tennessee, backing up Marcus Mariota, and then, and after backing up Marcus Mariota, getting his chance at Tennessee, and now in the system that he's in, yes, he's had help with Derrick Henry, and like A.J. Brown and Julio Jones now, but yes, he's had help like with the scheme and the run game and everything, but still Ryan Tannehill, he's done anything that you can ask a quarterback to do, and he's put up great numbers. He's helped his team win games. I don't really know. You can't really expect much more from Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. I'm streaming, right? Yeah, I think I am. But okay, yeah. Anyway, okay, that wasn't great, but anyway, yeah, Tannehill's done everything that was asked of him in the past couple of years. He's a top 85 player for me, no doubt. Number 83, we got Aaron Jones, who's become a bit overrated in the NFL community, but still, as a running back, he's extremely elusive and quick. He's one of the best guys to put in that Packers system because once he gets out in the open space, he breaks tackles so easily. I mean, Aaron Jones, he's amazing with his ability to, he's just so elusive and quick. He's a smaller guy, but whatever. He's number 83 here. Number 82, we got another breakout offensive lineman just like Garrett Bowles. This time it's Wyatt Teller, offensive guard from the Cleveland Browns. He's a mauler in the run game just like Shaq Mason, but on a higher level. And he's also a great pass protector. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on Wyatt Teller, but I think I saw a fair bit of him last year, and he looked like the best guard in the NFL last year if Quenton Nelson didn't exist. That's saying with the fact that Zach Martin and Brandon Brooks were injured last year, but he looked like the second best guard in football last year. Wyatt Teller looked absolutely amazing. He's just got to repeat it again because last year was a big-time breakout year. Number 81, got Josh Jacobs, running back of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the NFL at turning like a 2-yard gain into a 5-yard gain. He may not be like a home run hitter, but he bounces off of tacklers. And even though you may eventually bring him down, Josh Jacobs is going to punish you, and he's a good receiving back too. He's elusive. He breaks tackles. I think he's very underrated, and he's a near top 80 player in the NFL. Okay, let's look now. Players 90 through 81. We start at 90 with Kirk Cousins. 89 is Shaquille Barrett. 88 is Von Miller. 87 Denzel Ward. 86 Cameron Hayward. 85 Matthew Stafford. 84 Ryan Tannehill. 83 Aaron Jones with the glasses. I thought that was a funny picture to put in there. 82 Wyatt Teller. And 82 Wyatt Teller. 81 Josh Jacobs. Okay, let's move on to the start of the top 80 players, in my opinion, in the NFL. With number 80, Laramie Tunsil, offensive tackle of the Houston Texans. I think I had him a little bit lower than this last year, and the Texans gave up the farm for Laramie Tunsil. But Tunsil, at the same time, he is a great pass protector. If Deshaun Watson gets found guilty for what he did, that's obviously not good, and Laramie Tunsil would be the best. I think he'd be the best player on the Texans immediately. Maybe Deshaun would still be on the team, but you get what I mean. He's a great pass protector. He's drawn flags in the past. He's had issues in the past, but Tunsil's still great. He's number 80 here. Quinnen Williams is at number 79. I want to take a minute to talk about Quinnen Williams because he's an absolute monster. In the middle of the Jets defense, he wreaks havoc on offenses. Maybe the stats don't show it. Maybe people are underrating him, but I think Quinnen Williams is an absolute maniac. You have to put 2 guys on him, I think, at this point, and he's going to get a lot better next year because his first year, his rookie year, he wasn't really good. His second year, he was absolutely amazing. Like I said, you have to put multiple guys on him to be able to block him because otherwise you can't. He's a great run blocker. He gets into the backfield at an outstanding rate. Just when watching him, he popped off the screen. Maybe it's because he was amongst a terrible Jets defense, but he has flashes where he just looks unblockable. And I think next year he's going to skyrocket up this list. He's going to be a top 50 player next year, I think. And people are underrating him. Let's talk about like Calais Campbell's better than Quinnen Williams. Let's talk about Jeffrey Simmons, Vita Vea better than Quinnen Williams. No, Quinnen Williams is a borderline. I don't know if I have him as a top 5 defensive tackle, but he's definitely up there. He's borderline top 5. He's unblockable unless you put multiple guys on him. Quinnen Williams is the 79th best player in the NBA. Very underrated in the NFL. Okay, number 78 here, Budda Baker. I saw him overrated. He was at number 22 or something. No, it may have been higher. I think he was top 20 in the recent NFL Top 100 that came out, which is always stupid year in and year out. But Budda Baker, he was ridiculously overrated. I don't want this to turn into a Budda Baker hate hate video because I like Buda Baker. I think probably the one word to describe Buda Baker is electric or playmaker, because I mean we saw him like the one thing he's going to be remembered by, unfortunately, probably for his career, is going to be getting caught by DK Metcalf on Sunday Night Football last year, which was amazing. But that's the one thing he's probably going to be remembered by for his career, which kind of sucks because he's like Jamal Adams. He's a little bit worse in coverage than Jamal, definitely. Even though, I mean, Jamal sucked in coverage last year, Buda Baker isn't great in coverage. I mean, he's not a huge weakness there. But then, especially like all over the offense, he just makes plays. Like he's in the backfield all the time. He's forcing fumbles. He's creating interceptions. He's getting sacks. Like I don't know if the stats show that or not, but like when you watch him, he's all over the field, and he's one of those guys that you just have to follow the ball, or you just have to follow. Like if you can't find the ball, you just have to watch Buda Baker because he's always near it. He's always near the ball. He's always making a play, and he's one of the best safeties in the NFL. He's one of the reasons the Cardinals defense is so great because he's an X factor. I mean, you can move him anywhere and he's going to get to the football. He's going to find it. That's how good he is, and that's why he's the 78th best player in the NFL. Corey Linsley, center from the Chargers here, is at number 77, moving over from the Packers. I think Linsley, he's just outstanding in every sense of the word. He's a great pass blocker, great run blocker, anything that you could ask for. And I think the Chargers added like 4 new offensive linemen through free agency or the draft this year. Linsley's the best among them, obviously, and then Rashawn Slater is also among those guys. So the Chargers' offensive line is going to be a lot better this year to protect Justin Herbert. Okay, so 76 through 75, we got 76, a guy who I'm lower on than a lot of people, Darius Leonard, linebacker from the Colts. Leonard he's a maniac, as his nickname suggests, and he like flies all over the offense's backfield, like I've said with a lot of these defensive guys, but it's true. He's always following the ball. He's always, if he sees something, then he's going to go at it. And if he's right, like if he sees a handoff and he goes after the handoff and he's right and it doesn't end up being play action, then he's going to make the play because he's too athletic, he's too fast, too strong, too smart for anybody in the NFL to block, to stop to getting to the ball carrier. That said, a lot of being a linebacker now in the NFL is about coverage. Darius Leonard is not a strong coverage linebacker. He is a very strong blitzer, very strong in the backfield, but I need to see him be a lot better in coverage. And, even for a guy who's a very strong guy around the line of scrimmage, he wasn't making an overwhelming amount of those plays last year. But once again, he's fine there. Definitely, if he improves on coverage, he'll be top 50 next year, no doubt. But a guy that doesn't have problems in coverage is Deion Jones, linebacker from the Falcons. He's not a very good pass rusher or run defender, which is more than 50% of being a linebacker, but he's one of the best, if not the best, coverage linebackers in the NFL. He's too fast. He's too intelligent. Like he could be a safety in the NFL and have no issues because of how savvy he is in coverage. And he can cover a guy like Alvin Kamara and not have too many issues, and then he can cover a Darren Waller and not have too many issues. I think he's just an X factor in coverage that you can stick on anybody that isn't an outside wide receiver, and he can have success against them, which is invaluable now. Or, you can't say enough about how valuable that is now in today's NFL. So Deion Jones, number 75. We got the 2 linebackers there. Okay, now we got 2 offensive linemen, 74 and 73. 74, we got Ronnie Stanley, offensive tackle from the Ravens. They traded Orlando Brown Jr., his running mate, who I think was at right tackle last year. Ronnie Stanley's definitely the better guy. I mean, he's been protecting Lamar Jackson's blind side for what Lamar Jackson's been starting for like 3 years now, and there haven't been any issues there. I mean, you very rarely see pressure coming from Ronnie Stanley's side, and that makes him very good. Jason Kelce, Kels, I guess, as that's apparently Travis Kelce said. Apparently that's how you say it now. Um, but Jason Kelce, a leader, very smart on that Eagles offensive line. Great pass blocker, great run blocker. There isn't enough that you can say about him. I mean, he doesn't really have many flaws as a player. He's not, I wouldn't say that he's the best at anything. He's a very good pass blocker, but I wouldn't say he's the best at anything for like an offensive lineman. So he can't rank like overwhelmingly high. Like he's not top 50, and he's coming out of his prime now, so he probably won't get there. He maybe has been in the past, but he won't get there from here on out. But Jason Kelce deserves his respect. He's number 73 here. 70 through 70, 72 through 71. At number 72, we got Roquan Smith, linebacker from the Chicago Bears. Yes, he's better than Darius Leonard. I think Roquan Smith, when I was going through, I was researching my top 10 for each position. I think I had Roquan Smith like sixth or something for linebackers, but when I was watching Roquan Smith, I was like, he was all over the field, and then he was amazing in coverage. I think he had like the best passer rate or the lowest passer rating allowed for linebackers, which is good. He had like the lowest passer rating allowed for the linebackers that I looked into. He was a great blitzer. He was a great run defender. I was like, what can't this guy do? And honestly, I had him lower earlier. I probably should have him higher because he's, I think, now going into his fourth year, and he's one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL, man or zone. He has great like movement skills. He's very instinctive. I mean, he's great at that. He's very strong and smart as a run defender, and he can chase after ball carriers. He's good as a blitzer, able to defeat blocks and get to the quarterback. I mean, there isn't really much that he can't do. He should probably be higher on here, so I'm kind of calling myself out in that regard. Number 71, a guy that probably most people think should be higher here. We got Nick Bosa, edge from the 49ers. He's only played, obviously, one full season, so, I mean, I'm going to get contradicted by one of my rankings later, but I can't rank him absolutely too high. But Bosa, as a run defender, pass rusher, I mean, I'm using these terms a lot. So obviously, run defender meaning defending against the run, pass rusher meaning getting to the quarterback. He was outstanding in his first year. That said, he was taking on a lot of one-on-one blocks because he had guys like DeForest Buckner, Dee Ford, Eric Armstead. Can't remember any other guys on that 49ers defensive line that year. As Solomon Thomas. There was someone else really good on that line, but obviously like guys like Fred Warner, Quan Alexander. He had a great secondary that year, so he was facing a lot of one-on-one blocks that year in San Fran. It's yet to be seen if, like some of the other edges that are going to be higher up on this list, he can defeat more attention like those guys. But if he keeps up what he did in his first year, he's a great finesse rusher. Like, he has a lot of pass rush moves. He's very quick. He's very strong. There isn't much that Bosa can't become. Also, he gets the anti-vax tax, so that makes him a little lower on this list. Sorry, anti-vaxxers, not sorry. But yeah, so 80 through 71, we got at number 80, Laramie Tunsil, tackle for the Texans. 79, Quinnen Williams, D tackle from the Jets. 78, Budda Baker, safety from the Cardinals. 77, Corey Linsley, center from the Chargers. 76, Darius Leonard, linebacker from the Colts. 75, Deion Jones, linebacker from the Falcons. 74, Ronnie Stanley, offensive tackle from the Ravens. 73, Jason Kelce, center from the Eagles. 72, Roquan Smith, linebacker from the Bears. And 71, Nick Bosa, edge rusher from the San Francisco 49ers. And like many of you, I'm kind of thinking some of these guys should be a little higher, but I mean, there's even more deserving guys higher up on this list. Starting with numbers 70 through 69. At number 70, we've got Za'Darius Smith, the guy who was absolutely amazing a year ago, I guess you can say. Edge from the Green Bay Packers. 2 years ago, or I'll just refer to it as the 2020 season, because last year was 2021. So in the 2020 season, he was amazing. He was a great like run defender. Like he's so long with those arms, and he's patient as a pass rusher. So you're not getting outside of him on that edge. Uh, like the Titans last year, like they were running a lot of plays. I noticed against or not against him, away from his side of the field because they noticed you can't really get outside of Zadarius Smith because he's patient and he's long. As a pass rusher, he's very quick, strong, really has it all. I mean, he doesn't have a great pass rush plan when he's getting to the quarterback. And as I kind of expected last year, he went through a little bit of a drop off when trying to, he didn't have his like sack numbers that he had the year before, but he was still great. And he's still great. I think he's gonna have another great season this year. He's number 70. DK Metcalf comes in at number 69, wide receiver from my Seahawks. Nice, by the way. DK has like the most outlined role maybe of anybody in the NFL. I mean, we know what he is. He's, as you can see from that picture, he's a tank. I mean, he's stronger than any corner he's going to face in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, yes, he is. He's faster than almost any corner he's going to face in the NFL, so he's an amazing deep threat. I mean, because he can just run deep, and then if he doesn't run past the corner, he's bigger than them, he's stronger than them, and Russell Wilson's going to put a pass to him right on the money, right in the breadbasket. He's going to be able to go up and get it. So he's a great deep threat. And then we know what he isn't. I mean, he's not, or I guess he's also a great, like, he's a pretty good guy for, like, screens and stuff because he can break tackles because he's so huge. I mean, look at that picture. I mean, he's so huge. So we know that he can, like, break tackles and stuff. But as a route runner and, like, the in-between game, like, he's the opposite of Keenan Allen. He doesn't have much. He's just not a very good route runner. He's not great at like changing directions, stopping on a dime, like selling deep routes, which isn't a slight to DK, but it's just to say that he's not the type of guy that you want like throwing the ball to on like complex route trees. That's also to say that you do want him like running deep routes and catching deep balls because he's one of the best receivers in the NFL at doing that. So obviously you want him doing that, but in the in-between game, he's not great. It's a very complicated way of saying. It was a very complicated way of saying that. I'm just gonna say he's great on deep balls. He's not great in the middle portion of the field. He's great in the deep portion of the field. If that makes sense. Okay, so now numbers 68 through 67. Sorry. At number 68, we got Chandler Jones, edge rusher from the Cardinals. Jones, he's mostly, he does have some finesse to his pass rush. He's not a great run defender. I'll start off with that. And he's not a great bull rusher because he's not the strongest guy, and he's not the longest, or he is pretty long, but pause. But he's not very patient, I would say, like Zadarius Smith is. But I'll just get to the strengths here because I'm kind of a train wreck right now. But he's very quick off the edge, and he has a very good pass rush plan. He has some great moves like the swim move, the spin move. He's very good at those, and those help him to get to the passer at an extremely great rate. I know he's like Cardinals fan. If you just ask a Cardinals fan on Twitter or something right now how many sacks he has in the past like 2 or 3 years or however many years you want, they'll respond and they'll tell you because they know. Cardinals fans love this man, and for good reason. He gets to the quarterback at an elite rate. There isn't really much more that you can say. Number 67, Brandon Brooks, offensive guard from the Eagles. There isn't really a ton that you can say about him either. He's great. He was injured last year, the entire year, so you can't. I'm not really gonna affect his ranking at all from last year. I think he was like around number 70 for me last year. So he's going to rise up a couple spots this year, evidently because the competition, I guess, was a little less stiff. But, I mean, he's a great run blocker, great pass rusher. Him and Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson form the best right side of an offensive line in the NFL easily. So, I mean, that's one of the strengths for the Philadelphia Eagles. The other is their defensive line. Other than that, they're kind of a train wreck, but Brandon Brooks is here at number 67. Okay, number 66 through 65. Number 66, we got Mike Evans, receiver from the Buccaneers, trying hard. I mean, there's a lot of Super Bowl bias that's going on with Buccaneers right now, and they're being ranked way too high as a result. I'll tell you ahead of time, Devin White is not on this list because he's not a top 100 player. Just because they won the Super Bowl doesn't mean that he's a top 100 player. Tom Brady isn't like top 5 on this list, I'll tell you that. Chris Godwin isn't on this list. Like I said, Tristan Wirfs isn't. So, I mean, like Ndamukong Suh for some people is, like Carlton Davis. No, if they hadn't won the Super Bowl, people wouldn't be saying that. So, I'm not going to, there's a lot of luck involved with winning. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but to win a Super Bowl, you have to be a great team. And just because you're a player on a great team doesn't mean that you're better. Like, just because Devin White was on a great team and won the Super Bowl, like they still would have won the Super Bowl if they had Darius Leonard or Deion Jones. So that doesn't mean that he's better than those guys. That's a long way of saying that. Yeah, so 66, we have Mike Evans, who's glorified kind of DK Metcalf, although he's a little bit better of a route runner. But once again, he's just a physically imposing guy who's gonna. I mean, red zone, he's better than DK because he's great at posting up, and you can just throw him the ball. He has amazing hands. He's able to high point the ball at an elite rate. I said guys like Marshawn Lattimore can handle him. He can't really, especially now that he has Tom Brady throwing to him. I mean, those two, like after week 2, it seemed like they had an amazing connection. Mike Evans, he's a great receiver. Can't really say too much about it because, especially like I said, as a red zone threat, he's amazing. Going up and high pointing the ball, he's a big bodied receiver who can kind of do it all, but really it's that he's a big body guy. And comes in number 66. Number 65, Demario Davis, linebacker of the New Orleans Saints. I think Davis is a little bit underrated. I think he's, as a run defender, he guesses a fair amount of the time, but he guesses right a lot. And Davis he's a guy who is fast, he's strong, he's instinctive, and he's very smart. And then, like, when teams try to run to the edges, Demario Davis is usually stopping the ball carrier in their tracks behind the line of scrimmage. And he's not, he's a very good pass defender. He's not amazing, though. I would say he's pretty good in pass coverage, which is very important in being a linebacker now. And he's a pretty good blitzer. His thing to hang his hat on is run defense. But he's a very good all-around linebacker. And I don't really know why he's that underrated. By the way, I will say, when I was looking up like linebacker highlights, Saints YouTube is amazing because with any player, they have like a 20-minute highlight package for you to watch. Like, if you look up a Chargers player's highlights, other than like the top 3 players on the Chargers, I guarantee like nobody else you're going to be able to find quality highlights for. The Saints, I like to shout out their YouTube because there are at least like 10 guys on Saints YouTube who will just be posting like Sheldon Rankins 15-minute highlights. So those guys are awesome. But okay, ironically, we move on to a Chargers and Saints 2 guys here. I was just talking about their respective YouTube communities. But okay, Derwin James here at number 64. He's been injured a lot recently. I will just say, please get healthy, Derwin, because Derwin James is maybe the most talented safety in the NFL, you could say. And I didn't want to factor injuries in too much to this ranking, but I think Derwin's been in the league for 3 seasons now, and he's been injured for the past 1.5 seasons. So we have to see him back on the field. We have to see that he can stay healthy. If he does, I mean, the only way to describe him is electric. He flies around the field, makes interceptions. He's a great coverage safety. He gets in the backfield a ton. He's always around the ball, just like Budda Baker. He's like Budda Baker, but he's better in coverage. So Derwin James, I mean, just look up his highlights. He's so fun to watch. And, yeah, I mean, he's just so fun to watch. And if he can be healthy and play a full season next year, I would be very surprised if he doesn't end up top 40. Cameron Jordan, at number 63, is a player who is also a bit underrated on the Saints defensive line, but Jordan, he is a guy who I think Cameron Jordan is a guy who, as a pass rusher and a run defender, is great. He's great all around. He has size. He has quickness, especially. He's very quick. He has strength. He has anything that you could potentially want in a defensive lineman or an edge rusher. And he's just able to consistently, even though he may not have like the tools that a Chandler Jones or Von Miller has, he's consistently able to get to the quarterback and stop ball carriers in their tracks. So he's number 63 for me. Okay, number 62 and number 61, we have two safeties here. Number 62, we have Minkah. These two guys are definitely going to be higher ranked by other people, and I understand that, but I have my reasons for putting them low. So 62, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Starting with the good things about Minkah. Minkah's very instinctive. He makes plays a ton. He's a playmaker. I mean, he's great in coverage. He gets his hands on the balls. He gets his hands on the ball all the time. He makes plays in coverage like no other safety in the NFL. I mean, he's especially as like a free safety lurking on the back end. Minkah is undefeated. I mean, you don't throw in the area that he's in, and he has the range to cover the entire field. So that's basically the entire field. That said, Minkah is helped out a lot, I think, by the Steelers' front seven, which is amazing. It has T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward, Tyson Alualu, Stephon Tuitt. It had Bud Dupree last year. It had Devin Bush last year. So they were making quarterbacks get rid of the ball super fast, and they were getting sacks on quarterback, deflected passes, just getting quarterbacks under duress. And I thought Minkah, as a player who was great in coverage and great at capitalizing off quarterbacks' mistakes, he did that. It made life way too easy on Minkah. And, if we see the Steelers defense not be as stacked again this year and not get to the quarterback and stop the rush at such an elite rate, that Minkah, he has to do a bit more, and he still is as good as he was last year, Minkah will be a lot higher on this list. But also Minkah isn't great around the line of scrimmage. He's really just a lurking free safety, which is fine, obviously. But I just think, what I'm trying to say here is that, Minkah had the easiest role to play, or the life was made easier for him than maybe any other safety in the NFL last year. I'll just say that, because I'm kind of stumbling over my words here. But that's my take on Minkah. If you disagree, leave a comment about it. Number 61, we have Jessie Bates, safety from the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought that I was higher on Bates when I made this ranking, but evidently I'm lower. I think that Bates is outstanding. He's very good around the line of scrimmage, although we haven't really... I think he's good around the line of scrimmage, but we haven't seen him do that a lot. As on the contrary to Minkah, Bates' role was very hard last year because the Bengals couldn't get to the quarterback, and their secondary was bad as well. So they were always letting receivers into the back end, and Bates was playing free safety. But Bates is super rangy. He has super good ball skills, which means that whenever quarterbacks put the ball in the air, they were putting themselves at risk to get picked off by Jessie Bates, because back there lurking at free safety, if you put too much hang time on that ball, he is going to sprint over there and he's going to make a play on it. And Bates maybe should be a little higher for me, I'll admit that. So maybe should Minkah. and Derwin James. So maybe a little bit too low on these safeties here, but it is what it is. Okay, so player 70 through 61. Number 70, we got Zadarius Smith, edge from Green Bay. Number 69, DK Metcalf, receiver from Seattle. Number 68, Chandler Jones, edge rusher from Arizona. Number 67, Brandon Brooks, guard from Philly. Number 66, Mike Evans, receiver from Tampa Bay. 65, Demario Davis, linebacker from New Orleans. Number 64, Derwin James, safety from the Chargers. Number 63, Cameron Jordan, edge from New Orleans Saints. Number 62, Minkah Fitzpatrick, safety from Pittsburgh. And number 61, Jesse Bates, safety from Cincy. Okay, so on to the last 10 players of the night. As you can tell, the quality of the video has trailed off a bit here towards the end as I have gotten more and more tired, but keep chugging along. At number 60, another Seahawks player, Jamal Adams. I think by the end of I think last year I had him, maybe this was me being biased as a Seahawks fan, but I think I had him like number 15 or something. I may have even had him top 10. And Adams last year definitely wasn't great, especially in coverage. He got exposed a lot by guys like Cooper Kupp, who are slot receivers, who are very quick, who Adams, he's kind of like Metcalf to it. I mean, he's not really like Metcalf, but to a certain extent, like with those smaller and shiftier guys, he's not really able to like mirror them in space, which a lot of safeties aren't. So I think the Seahawks defense, like Ken Norton, it was a very tough ask for him to ask Jamal Adams to guard like those smaller, shiftier slot guys. And I think this year they'd be better suited to have him try and guard like tight ends and like bigger guys like that, because Adams can body those guys and he can body anybody. I mean, Adams as a box safety, like he should just be, and I think he like for his extension, I think he asked to be paid like a linebacker or something under like the franchise tag. I think they got a deal worked out, but when they were thinking of putting him under the franchise tag, I think he tried to apply for like a linebacker, like a linebacker type of, what's it called? A linebacker classification, because they get paid more. He kind of is like a linebacker though, because he's great at rushing the passer and stopping the run. I mean, as a box safety, he's one of the best of all time, and he's probably the best pass rushing DB. He's top 5 all time. He may already be the best of all time because he already has, I think, like, he may already have the most sacks all time, like career-wise for a DB in NFL history, just because he's fast, he's strong. I mean, he's able to elude blockers. He does that like a linebacker. He has a nose for the ball. He's always around the ball. And I think by the end of next year, he's going to be a lot better. He's going to be a lot higher than number 60. Number 59, we have another one of the best route runners in the NFL, Amari Cooper, receiver from Dallas. Cooper really, he's like Keenan Allen, but he has better hands. He's a better deep threat. He's a little speedier. He's an outstanding route runner. I mean, you can't really stick a guy on him one-on-one and try to stop him. Now, in zone coverage, he's not great at beating that, but man-to-man, he's unstoppable. So that's what puts Amari Cooper here at number 59. He gets a lot of help also from being in a receiver room with CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and an outstanding offensive line, Dak Prescott throwing him the ball. That said, I mean, he's still a great receiver. Okay, number 58 now, we got Tyrann Mathieu, safety from the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a lot like Jamal Adams for me. He's always around the ball. It seemed like in big moments for the Chiefs last year, he was always around the ball making plays. Like, he's a great coverage linebacker. He can cover, I mean, he can shut down like tight ends. He can even cover slot receivers, which Adams obviously can't do. He can cover tight ends, guys like running backs, very effectively. He's a very effective pass rusher, run defender. I mean, I think he's very underrated. And in these talks of like top safeties, I think he's usually left out of those discussions, where I think he shouldn't be. He should be in the discussion for the number 1 safety in the NFL. And I had him there before this video. There's one guy that I have above him. I'm not sure if we're gonna see him in this video. I'm not sure if he's top 50 or not, but yeah. So those guys, I mean, he's in the argument for the number one safety. There really isn't anything that he can't do. He's always around the ball. Once again, you can't say too much about Tyrann Mathieu. Lavonte David, now linebacker for the Buccaneers, comes in at number 57. David, an outstanding coverage linebacker, just like Deion Jones. He's always around the line of scrimmage making plays. I've said these cliches a lot in this video, but they're true. I mean, he's miles better than Devin White. I don't know why people think Devin White's better. But he's great around the line of scrimmage, rushing the passer and mostly blitzing, because that's rushing the passer for true linebackers. True linebackers being like your inside linebackers, not edge rushers. But as I said, oh my bad. Wait, what'd I do? Oh, okay. Am I still live? I'm not sure if I'm live anymore. Wait. Okay, I am still live. Okay, well that's good. But yeah, so anyway, back to Lavonte David. He's great around the line of scrimmage, and he's even better making plays on like the back end. So Lavonte David, great. Okay, okay, we do say the top safety in this video. But number 56, we have Rodney Hudson, center of the Arizona Cardinals. He comes over from Las Vegas. He's probably the best pass protecting center in the NFL. He's going to be a big help to Kyler Murray to get him in there, get him acquainted with Murray, and I mean he can take on like not take on multiple guys at a time successfully, but he can do it all as a pass protecting center, which is great. Number 55, we have Harrison Smith, who is the most instinctive safety in the NFL. I mean, guys like Aaron Rodgers have said, like, you don't, like, wherever he's lining up, you don't really know if that's, like, you can't really tell anything from where Harrison Smith is lined up. He's so good at disguising what he's going to do. He's so good at reading, like, the quarterback. He's a good, like, hitter. I meant to say that about Jamal Adams. I mean, he's one of the best hitters in the NFL. I also should have said that about Derwin. But he's like strong. He's athletic. He's able to mirror like ball carriers. He's able to get to the quarterback, and he's instinctual, especially in pass coverage. Okay, numbers 54 and 53, Marlon Humphrey and James Bradberry. Humphrey is very versatile. He's able to guard anywhere from a running back, tight end, slot receiver, outside receiver. He can do it all, and he can do it all successfully. He's a great playmaker. I think he's a bit overrated because he's not like on the level of like a Stephon Gilmore, Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, but he's still a great corner. Don't get it twisted. Him and Marcus Peters make one of the best corner duos in the NFL. James Bradberry at number 53. I think it's rather not a lot of people would say that Bradberry's better than Humphrey, but I think Bradberry not talked about a ton, and he doesn't have a ton of highlights, but that's because normally when he's guarding receivers, they don't, quarterbacks don't throw his way because they're usually just not open. And I think there's definitely something to be said for that. Bradberry he's very locked down. I mean, when you're on him, you're not usually getting open. Okay, now the last two players here in the video, in the live stream, as my voice is wearing off, we got number 52, DeMarcus Lawrence, edge rusher from the Dallas Cowboys. The man is very underrated, gets to the quarterback all the time. I mean, he's super long with those arms, and he's patient as a pass rusher, even more so than Za'Darius Smith, a lot more so than Za'Darius Smith. So I think as a run defender, he's one of the best edges in the league. And then as a pass rusher, he may not have the stats, but that's because his secondary was terrible last year. Quarterbacks were getting rid of the ball super quickly, but especially one-on-one, I think he's able to get to the quarterback at a very high rate. So DeMarcus Lawrence comes in there, number 52. 51, Chase Young. We know who Chase Young is. I mean, he's a maniac. Don't want to say his nickname because it's not good. But Chase Young, I mean, he's stronger than you. He's quicker than you. He's faster than you. He has pass rush moves already developed. I mean, he's a freak of nature. I wouldn't be surprised if next year he's top 10. You can't say enough about him. If you want to know more, drop a comment, especially on my Twitter. Here are the top guys, number 60 through 51. Jamal Adams, Amari Cooper, Tyrann Mathieu, Lavonte David, Rodney Hudson, Harrison Smith, Marlon Humphrey, James Bradbury, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Chase Young. And so, that is finally, after a lot of time, it is going to end my live stream of, how long has it been going now? How long has it been going? Okay. It's been going about 56 minutes, about an hour. And yeah, it's been going a little more than an hour actually. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, check out some of my other videos. They're probably better quality than this one. Although this one's just a live stream, so it's just for fun, and I think it was a good video. I'm going to drop these rankings on my Twitter with potentially some explanation to those rankings, but likely if you want the explanation, you're going to need to come back and watch this video, and just, you can just fast forward to the guy you want to see, or comment on that Twitter post, and I can respond to you with why I'm higher or lower on that guy. So, without further ado, and without further blabbering from me, I am Bucky Badger W, saying peace out. Those are my top 100 NFL players from numbers 151. But once again, peace out. Have a great rest of your day. Yeah, Bucky Badger W saying have a great rest of your day.